Just keep reading. Just keep reading.
I've run out of papers I could use. There's only a few more. I have to repeat it. Use the You have it all intellectually, yes? You understand like the direction and the play of time, yeah? And that which comes after is implied to be before, yeah? And that which is before can never be known by what comes after. And there's nothing that comes before that which is before. So it's unknowable. It's not an experience. It doesn't take time to arrive there. And there's no time, at no time could you be gone from it. So truly, it's like the fish in water. The fish being in water completely at all times may not know it's wet. So then it could actually think it's dry and go to meetings with other dry fish, talk about and how great it would be to have an experience of being wet.
That's the best one. The fish, go to meetings.
Well, we could start calling each other salmon and mackerel and barracuda, I hope. I hope I have more teeth. Shark. A shark. Sharks don't swim in schools. Sharks. That's how we say it back in New England. Shark. But you just try to say it in so many ways to produce a sense of the immediacy, because you're not going to produce a sense of the immediacy in time. A process isn't going to bring you to the immediacy because you never left the immediacy. Yeah? So the idea of studying wetness, because that's what will happen. If there's a wave that's taking itself to be the wave, the only way you can entertain the ocean is to have an experience of it, or to know it. And its idea of knowing it would be to study the ocean, know how deep it is, know how large it is, all this and all that. And in the sense of knowing the ocean, that would be the closest it could come to the ocean, would be knowing it. And then hopefully the knowing of it would produce an experience, and then it would try to lengthen that experience. And then when it wasn't having the experience, it would want to have more of the experience. All the while, it's the ocean under a pretense of being a wave. The ocean hasn't been lost, hasn't been less, it didn't become less ocean the more it thought it was a wave. Yeah? The wave isn't observing itself in the ocean. It's in the ocean completely. And therefore, the whole point would be really, and like we've been pounding away at it, would be to see if you're a wave. Simple as that. So you can study about waves because you're not a wave. And that studying would be valuable because it would lead to you realizing you're not a wave. But see, studying what you are will not lead to you being what you are. It doesn't go that way. Studying what you're not will lead to realizing you're not that. But studying about what you are will not lead to you being what you are. Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it would. I wish we could know ourselves into being. Yeah, and that knowing would be the production or the producer of being, but it isn't. Yeah, but the whole point is, as Ramana said in that statement, you can't investigate the Atman, or the truth, but you can investigate the non-self. Yeah, that's where the value of knowing is, because that knowing will lead you to somewhere, which is where you already are. Yeah, by realizing what you're not, you're going to get a sense of what you are, because you'll be in the vicinity, at least you'll be close to the zip code of what you are, by realizing what you're not. The same movement being directed in a different way to know what you are won't produce the results that you would expect. Yeah, because you think you can know, if you knew enough, if you know it enough, you'll somehow, maybe for a very short period of time, feel like you're it, you know, and that moment, after it seems to have gone, will actually be used to drive you crazy. You know, the worst spiritual seekers, addicts, it's like in AA we have different types. There's periodics, binge people, you know, well in spiritual they do. And one of the types is the one who thought they were awake and now isn't awake. It's very, very painful, because the only way they can make sense of losing awakeness is they had to have a lot to do with it. Really, you know what I mean? They have to have a lot to do with it. So if they thought they had it and then they lost it, I'm telling you, there's a huge story about how they lost it, which is just a giant, advertisement for selfie. You know, it's implying that you have so much power that you can actually override awakeness. You are sufficient to block the sun from the sun's side. Yeah, when that's not the truth. The whole ability for a cloud to block us off from the sun is based on our position, not the cloud's position. If we're on the sun side, we're going to see clouds, but they're not going to have the ability to block us off from the sun. If we're on another side, the same cloud can have a huge ability to obscure you from the sun. It has nothing to do with the cloud's position, it has to do with your position. Yeah. It's always us. It always comes down to us. There is no obscuring factor except the activity of the mental state being identified as a self. That's the obscuring factor. That puts us on a very, very insecure position of anything can seem to block us off from what we are, because we're identified as what we're not. That gives a lot of room for shit to appear to seem to be able to block us off from the sun. But if you're on the sun side, you see the exact same clouds, but they don't have the same meaning. The exact same. You see everything just as it is, but it doesn't have the seeming power it used to have. So thoughts do not change a fucking thing, really. Yeah. Because the only way they can only be used to change something by that which can change something. We are the dreaming. We are the reality. Yeah. So if we believe something is so, it will seem to be so. And then when we stop believing something is so, it will seem not to be so. That's our position. Nothing is or isn't except by how we see it, really. Yeah. Worst thing in the world can be the best thing in the world. Yeah. That's how extreme it can be. This stuff, I would hope, would imply some entertaining. You know, if you, like when I heard the statement from the Course, it triggered a lot of entertaining. Like, you are giving everything all the meaning it has is a pretty, you know, it's not like, oh, Paul, you look good. I like that pair of trousers you have. White shirt. I almost said pants, but I know better now. Because I do learn, you see. I learn. So, you know, no, but someone says, hey, you know, you're giving everything all the meaning it has. What? That's like a big leap, in my view. And where does it take you? Where does that statement take you? It doesn't take you. it sort of suspends the thought system, and then you marvel at the possibility of what that means. I mean, literally, what it actually means in day-to-day living. I'm giving everything all the meaning it has. And then I'm sure Wayne Poe could have spoken and put a huge dissertation out, but he chose rather to say things that were quite short and brief, but unbelievably expansive, which is, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving. End of story. So all of us, our role on the game board is a piece that gets moved. It's not the moving piece. It's a piece that gets moved in the game board. Yeah. So what I sense when I use the word entertaining lab, because it's like mind doing its thing. It's not thinking about something. That's not entertaining. That's knowing it already. You're looking at the evidence to verify the assumption you've already arrived at. Yeah? Like when you meet somebody that you think you know, it's a done deal. They're frozen. Yeah? You're not open for them to surprise you, basically. You're open to them to just reiterate your fucking belief that you were right about them. That's all you see. Yeah? But entertaining is something comes in, and the mind, raw mind, R-A-W, if you want to call it that, native intelligence, whatever, entertains it. It sort of goes around it like a space and just sort of plays with it. Yeah? And then it's sort of like, by the dance, a lot of change gets shook out. A lot of downloads occur, and you become rich in a way. Yeah? That's entertaining. It doesn't have to stop. In entertaining, there are no periods or question marks. None of that. There's no punctuation. There's just on and on. It can go on and on. And all of the statements lead to no statement. Yeah? It's like the stone never hits the bottom. You never hear a ping. It just goes on and on and on. And you get a sense of your incredible breadth and depth and immense size. And of course, it contradicts the assumption that you're squeezed into this little sausage package, that you're a body. And then how can you escape the statement, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving? You're perceiving seemingly bodies. And you're calling them Paul or Jim or Mary, but they're not. Because whatever can be perceived cannot be what's perceiving. So what's looking out of your head isn't the body. Yeah? Bing, that's that. All right, move on. The seeker is the sought. What? Oh yeah. So how is the seeker gonna find the sought? Through seeking. And if you are the sought, then seeking will never work. You see, this is the one little speed bump we like to forget. If you are the sought, obviously seeking isn't going to find it. Yeah? The seeking would be a way of disguising that you're the sought. Because suddenly the subjective immediacy of what you are would be objectified, and you'd be looking for it in time and at a different place. What triggers the seeking is the sought not knowing it's the sought, or not being the sought. It can know it's the sought, and that won't stop the seeking, but being the sought has the ability to stop seeking. Yeah? Because it's like Ramana said, it's ridiculous, it's absurd, it makes absolutely no sense in that one topic. Yeah? It makes none. And it's not going to make sense. You can deprive yourself of sleep, you can do whatever you like. It doesn't change a thing in a way. You're in a relaxed awareness state, but you're busily trying, you're not, the mental state's busily trying to focus it and concentrate it and point it at something. And in that, you miss the sense of the large field that you are. it's like sunlight. You know, it's going to enrich everyone's day if it comes out, but if it was concentrated, it can incinerate a body. Yeah? It's the same energy, but it's best that it's dispersed, and then everything gets lit up. Yeah? That's sort of like mind is. It's dispersed. It's relaxed. I think in Dzogchen they speak about relaxed awareness. That's the seeing. You can't have a very constrained, concentrated, agitated looking to see that, because it's sort of the opposite. This, doesn't pick up this. This is being this, even when the head's doing this. When the aperture of what we call us during a day keeps going like this, because it does, right? You see someone you like, then if you're not, you disperse, then you see a beautiful flower. It's going like this all day. But the other aperture doesn't do that. It's totally wide open, and it's open to infinity or space. It's not going like this all day. We're taking it to be defined by this, all this. So you think you have it, then you did something and you lost it. It's not doing anything to that. That's just totally wide open, and it's looking or seeing infinity. It never runs into anything. So the seeing goes on uninterrupted at all times. It never lands on an object. The seeing never gets stopped and then seemingly turns into looking. It doesn't. It's just seeing. There's no lens going. All your antics here doesn't change that one bit. That's where the reliance, that's where the relief, that's where the abidance is. It's not here. It's there. That's always open, always available at all times. Read Douglas Harding, read these people. You may be on having no head would work better than Ramana for you. It doesn't matter. There are a lot of people that are sharing the same invitation. You may like the envelope better from one than the other. You know? Some have a big smiley face, some loving gaze. You know? This has some broken shad, glass. Because I believe irritation is good. I do. I totally do. I believe it's good to irritate that which can be irritated. So you can see it, you know? Because if it's laying on the bottom, not moving, you may mistake it for something. But when you start seeing its activity, you'll recognize it's not you. Clearly. You know? This is my 20th talk.
You know, on irritability, Paul, twice, last night and the night before, called my girlfriend and she said, well, how's the retreat? And I began to tell her. She said, no, don't talk like that. It really makes me irritable. And I hardly got through half a sentence, you know. Well, we did it. And I tried it again last night. And she said, no, I don't want to hear that. After she'd said, tell me about your day. Yeah. So I said, I don't know what, I said, why does it make you irritable? She said, I don't know, it just does. So I talked about walking around the grounds and, and talking to nice people at lunch. And she said, oh, that's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the process.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So any questions today?
Yeah, Paul, when you talk about irritation, you talk about kind of welcoming irritation or allowing irritation.
No, I'm saying the joy I have when I irritate. It's one of the little bits I get out of it all. I'm only joking. A little bit anyway. I'm talking about irritation, you know, where someone's seeing, knowing it's very safe. There's like a mental security, yeah? So there's a sense of knowing. it's like a fake, it's like you think you have a steel reinforced boat, but it's really a rubber one. It can be popped very easily. Yeah. So irritation tends to cause some. I don't know. I just think it's a good idea to irritate people. Yeah.
Yeah, my central question was, were you referring to irritation in oneself or irritating others?
Irritating others.
No, it's really, I'm totally on board with what he's saying, because if you're not seeing some degree, if he's not, or I'm not seeing some degree in our initial presentations as we're going, some degree of squirming a little bit and feeling uncomfortable, everybody's just staying in their comfort space. And there's no transformation, nothing's occurring. Everybody's just sort of nodding, yeah, okay, yeah. There's nothing happening. It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
Can we reassure you that you both succeeded?
Thank you.
No, it's correct. If somebody's not coming up afterwards going, I'm feeling a little funky about when you said blah, 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 that's good. The process, something's kicking in and jerking it out of that comfort level. There's just kind of this fixed place. You're just stuck in and stuck in and stuck in. And somebody gives it some irritation, and all of a sudden you paid money to be here, so you want to investigate it instead of just medicate it.
And a protective shutting down, I'm speaking from my own experience, some protective shutting down is a kind of irritation.
Yeah. Exactly. That irritates me.
It doesn't
That's the thing, yes. You hit it right on the money.
I can see that you relate to that one.
Yeah. That's when I'm at the point of beating a dead horse. It's not frustration. It isn't, because I don't care really deeply. But it's being of service. I have strong indications when the service is turning into something else. So that's what I don't. Yeah. Like the power that controls the faucet informs me. Yeah. Because it isn't for just entertainment value. Mind is speaking to mind. Yeah. Mind's going to shut down that communication when it's enough. It's time to entertain. No more speaking. Let mind entertain. Mind is the final voice. The silence is the language. Yeah? Yes. Words are just vehicles. All of you have been served the spiritual subpoena. Yeah, I don't need to serve any more spiritual subpoenas. That's a redundancy, so to speak. I have more faith in mind than that. Yeah, I do. I believe you don't need much at all. Literally. I see it in you, I see it. You've got it in a sense. The point is to entertain it. Yeah? Because the entertaining it is what keeps it alive. I don't mean entertaining it by going over it and taking notes so you can do all that. I mean the mind now entertains. Yeah. Like there's you can't use seek the Buddha. You can't use the Buddha, seek the Buddha. That's like a big foot getting put in the door. You can't close the door. It's not the foot that comes in, it's the space. Yes, out and in. Yeah, it's the space. You get the sense of mind raw, not filled or not the attention and interest being drawn into thought. It's free ranging. Yeah, it takes one little thing and changes everything. That's the power of it. Yeah. It doesn't need menus. It needs a piece of meat. Yeah. It takes the taste and then it does the rest. Yeah. It doesn't words trigger image. Image is what works. If you can see what you're calling yourself as other, it's going to be very helpful to recognize it as not you. And if it's not you, you'll lose interest in all that implies that it's you, therefore losing interest in quote-unquote self. Because as self, when you try to lose interest in self, that's self-interest. You cannot get out of this little wiggly thing. There's another way out by realizing you're not in. That's the only way that can work. The only way you're going to have a stabilized out is realize there is no stable in. You weren't in anything. You never were. The thought has never taken you on a ride. Nothing happens. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah.
Is it, could it also be said that it's not necessarily other, but it's not the total of your experience? So it's still a felt experience to self, but it's not the totality of who you are. It's a portion of the whole experience, but it's the false reference. Right?
Whatever allows it to start, entertain it. It's going to lead somewhere else. Yeah? Let's say you entertain the snout. After a while, you'll see it from head to toe. Whatever enters you into seeing it as other, go there, it's going to expand on that. Once you see it from head to toe, that's it. The fucking classroom's over. Now you rest. Yeah? It's a done deal. To me, it's the last answer, which is an incredible answer because there's no need for any other answer. I've never had that with any of the other answers I've ever had. It always led to more answers, trying to find more answers. This one negates all need for any answers. That's a damn good answer, in my view. Yes? That's done. No more investigation. It's entertaining now. Much different. Yeah? The entertaining cuts off all the investigation. Like Ramana said with self-inquiry, you ask the question who it is. It leads you back to source. When you seem to arrive at where you've always been, rest. There's no need to ask who am I anymore then. You rest in that being. Yeah. If your head seems to take you out of it, then ask who it is so that you can fall right back into that. But when you're in there, you're not asking a fucking thing. You're entertaining. That's the appropriate response. Yeah? Hearing the message. There's also a role you have, which is entertaining the message. Yeah? If you just come here to hear the message, yeah? Just maybe the messenger is going to get irritated because its job is complete. It's now time for you to entertain the message. Yeah? We're on overtime hearing the message. You're getting close to being disqualified from the match. It's time to sort of rumble, entertain. The preliminaries are over. This is the heavyweight. No, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get across. You don't need giant long dissertations. You just need a simple invitation. And then the mind does the rest. Let the mind do the rest. Stop, your job, you've run the ball as far as you can run. Put it down. Something else will pick it up. That's the faith in mind. Why are we relying on trying to figure it out? That's the failed system. You figured out the failed system has failed. Why are you still trying to use it, seemingly? Yeah. One thing. That guy, you ever hear of Nisargadatta Maharaj? He would have kicked all of us out at his meetings. He would have said, get out of here. Fucking it's time for you to entertain. You've heard it enough. I'm a believer in that. But truly, yeah, shit, yeah. Every year my talks get shorter and shorter, usually, at home. It's like 28 minutes, to sometimes 10 minutes. I mean, people don't need long. That's faith, you know, faith. There's faith in something. Either we're having faith, there's not we, but there's either faith in the mental state and all its faculties, like intelligence and knowing, studying, and believing that more time means better. Yeah, or there's faith in mind that doesn't have any rules. Yeah? You can't go home and study the dance steps. It's all fucking improvised. It's all like you get on the dance floor with no idea, follow the leader, and a dance occurs. Yeah? And then next time, you'll put a lot of your preparatory shit, because it didn't apply at all as soon as you got on the dance floor, you stop bringing it to the dance. Fucking you go, music starts, you're in there, and you see that it all freaking works out. So there's now faith in raw mind. And you get the sense of being relieved from that which you hope would find you relief. You get relief from the failed system. You stop hoping to get relief through the failed system, because obviously it's proven to be a failed system. Yeah. Like we say in AA, the problem resides in the mind, so you cannot find the solution there. You can't use the thing that's the manufacturing of the problem to manufacture a solution. It will give you many, but they won't be one. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's an amazing message. There's relief in failure. To get the essence of that, it's extraordinary.
Yes. To me, it's just a huge relief. I mean, but stabilized relief. It becomes the new norm. It's like better than 50 Thai massages. Something just, it's like a breath that finally, but there's no pulling in another. It's just an exhale. And it's great for the balloon to have no air in it, really. We're all day blowing it up, blowing it up, blowing it up.
Can I ask if all the time you spent seeking, and now you realised that seeking itself was not getting you closer, do you feel that can you say that was a waste of time, or was that part of the entertainment you're talking about?
It was definitely not a waste of time, because mind uses it, yes? So mind used the time practicing, to demonstrate the failure of the systems. That's how they succeed, by failing us. Just like how saviors succeed is by failing us, so that you're left with your own devices. Yeah? Anything here is up to mind. So there is no lost anything. Yeah? Everything has been put to use. In AA, we talk always about don't forget the suffering, because it's the reason why it is the way it is now, was what had happened to you. So in the playing out of what is in time, that seems to be a way it goes, yeah? Disillusionment leads to illumination. Is the illumination a new event? No. What happens is, you had this disillusion, illumination becomes obvious, and then there's a complete realization it's always been illuminated. So then you see that nothing ever happened. Yeah? That's it. So in a way, yes, that came up before, and it seemed to have led to that, but then it's seen that nothing came before, and all there has been this, completely. So yes, both, they're both. Yes, it had value, and then in one level it doesn't have any value. That's the beauty of the place. But mind is here, dreaming, so everything is of value. The reason why this moment is so valuable, because you're in it.
Paul, you said in some of your videos really brilliantly, but you were in that space when you were saying it, describing it from that space of how anybody that's in any addiction, whether it's you're addicted to your thoughts, to your negative thoughts, to a substance or whatever, in these videos where they're kind of titled the parasite and parasitic thinking, how would you instruct, so to speak, at that level, at that hierarchy of where somebody is they're struggling and they're identified with this addiction, and it seemed that there was really a beautiful, I've shared this with some people, and they really had a shift just from sharing the way you said it, to where you see that this I am seeking to get high, or I am seeking, and all of a sudden you sort of notice that like it's a parasite talking and it's not you, and you break the identification, and suddenly it's something you can look at. Instead of it being the subject, it's become an object, a parasite, and now you have some space, and you can listen to it and ignore it, whereas before you were it, you were acting it out.
Yeah, you said it well. Well, again, though, it's all seemingly so. And we're not addicted to thought, we're addicted to the thinker. You know, to be addicted to the thinker, there's got to be an active listening to the thoughts, because the thoughts imply the thinker. If the thinker would stand alone, it would need no thoughts, but it can't. It only has a sense of standing by the thoughts. But it's the thinker that's the addiction, in my view. And then everything is seemingly so. But I find mine works well when, see, if the crux of the seeming obstruction is that which could only obstruct, which is us. There is no obstruction to us. We could be the obstruction, seemingly, yeah? So if that's the case, the obstruction is the act of being identified as a self. It's a mental activity. It can never produce the goods. It can't produce a self, but it can seemingly produce a self, yeah? If that which is so believes it. So this is what's happening. Yeah? So the act of being identified as a self causes us to believe we're the thinker of the thoughts, and then there's an addiction to the thinker, which means it has to shoot up thoughts. That's the drug that gives meaning to the thinker, yeah? But it's not the drug is not, the drug isn't shooting itself up, you're shooting up the drug, yeah? Like we say in AA, alcohol is baffling, cunning, and this and that, but it isn't really. It's alcoholism is baffling, cunning, and stuff. Alcohol is just an inert fucking thing, but it can be used to produce a lot of effects by us, yeah? So exactly. So what happened with me was the 9th year of sobriety, something had occurred, and when I read this statement in the book, that self manifested in various ways, it had a very strong hit that it was a foreign installment or a parasitical movement, and it gave it was like a pictorial, which is much better lesson than a lot of words, yeah? Yeah? It's like a simple stick figure. Self, us, different, you know what I mean? But what happens when there's a murkiness between self and us? There's an act of being identified as a self. That's it. But self and us, which is obvious. All right. So if I'm not that, what possibility arises that couldn't arise when I thought I was that? Which is I can be free from it. Where before the freedom would be captured by I can be free as it, which doesn't work, yes? The freedom as a self is bondage of self. The freedom from the self is something else, yeah? So the point was, in hindsight, the mind, let's say, with like huge super horsepower was stuck in 1 year, yeah? Every time there was like an idea of entertaining freedom, it tried to entertain freedom as an action figure, which severely limited the possibility of freedom. Even if it becomes a possibility, it's now stretched into time. So there'll be stories, I was once free when I was doing that, and then there's this hope that I will be free, which has you as the star of the whole journey. selfing. So freedom once again becomes all about you. That's not freedom. Freedom is from you. Yeah. So by seeing it as something other, it triggered an easiness, and it produced a possibility that wasn't being produced by all my actions as the self, all my actions by a self, all my actions through a self. But I started seeing, I'm starting to see self from not self, and that's when things stabilize. So it's an easy way to sort of share with people, because we can do it on the chalkboard, you know. Here's bondage of self, and then just move the two characters, yeah? One superimposed on the other, so you're living as that, and it just like that. Hey, you don't need 800 pages. You can just see the stick figure thing, and you get it much clearer than you would by reading freaking about it, or hearing about it, you know, on and on, yeah? The mind doesn't need much, telling you. It's got all the wood, it's incredibly flammable. It basically may need a little, just a bonfire can occur. You don't have to keep throwing logs in it. If you keep throwing logs in it, you'll think you're the one who's stoking the fire. You're not. The fire is on its own, burning. Yeah? Just fucking warm yourself there. You don't have much to do about it. You don't have to throw yourself in. It's not a fucking romantic epic. You know what I mean? It really isn't. It's ordinary dog shit awakeness. It's the norm, really. You were in it when you were a kid. You weren't thinking it was special, and I'm not thinking it's special now. You know? A good latte is special to me. It is. That has more specialness than this. This is so ordinary, I would never even go shop for it. Ever. Literally. But I ain't gonna give it away. Well, I give it away by having it, really. That's how you have it. I'm getting paid handsomely for this. Fuck the money. I have money. I get it. This is so much more joyous. I could give a shit about tons of stuff. I'm just compelled to share because it's so beautiful. It's like if I saw a movie, I'd tell you about it. Well, I've seen a movie. I have. And it's all ongoing, and we're all there. You know? I mean, I've been enthused by it for years. I never get tired by it. I have jokes around it, but I'm so filled up by being empty, it's unbelievable. Just roars through me every day. Yeah, there's nothing fucking that can grow there. It's unbelievable. Yeah. You gave me the opportunity, I appreciate that. Yeah. It's sort of like, what are they called, contained fires? It's like a completely contained fire.
Incinerator.
Not an incinerator. I like to throw you in an incinerator. This is more a contained fire. Directed by an incredible source of wisdom. Yeah?
Yeah.
Once you're burned by it, you'll surrender to it.
Horrible fire.
It's a whore of a fire. Directed by a whore of a whore of a whore of a fire. So, yeah. Any questions? I think that's it, right, for this morning? We have one more today. Yeah? I'm going to reveal the secret handshake. 2:58 this afternoon. Yes.
You talk about the selfing, and it's an activity, and it's our thoughts are creating a seemingly solid.
They're making, but they're not creating. They're making.
Making.
Yeah,
Making.
seemingly, yeah.
Is all that activity orbiting around one thought believed of in a body?
Well, the body is sort of like the light to the moths, yeah?
Yeah.
But in a sense, in this case, it's the moths that make the light. you don't know what is the chicken or what's the egg, really. Because the body's appearing in mind. There isn't a body, obviously, yeah? It's a non-existent thing, it's being dreamt. So the mind is dreaming. So let's say if there was space and suddenly tons of moth-like thoughts coagulated and started to orbit around that space, maybe a planet would seem to appear, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, that's more how I see it. The thoughts are being used to imply the thinker. The thinker does not have thoughts. The thoughts are being used to imply a thinker. Feelings which are happening are being used to imply that they're happening to a non-happening, a non-existent thing, yeah? So the feeler cannot be a feeler without feelings. It needs the feelings to imply the feeler, yeah? So it's taking what's happening to imply that it's happening to a someone. That's the story. Feelings are happening, thoughts are happening, all this stuff is happening. But the mental state uses it to imply the one it's happening to. That's the little bit of a tricky there, yeah? That, because it truly isn't so, that can only seem to be so, that's where there's some grace and power, yeah? Because if the supply line is broke, if you're not taking yourself to be the thinker, there'll be a loss of interest in the thoughts, yeah? And you'll gain exactly what you were trying to think yourself into by losing interest in thoughts, yeah? Because they're not about you anymore. That's the beauty of it. Thoughts are not that interesting. They're basically the same all day. Yeah? The only interest that lies in them is that they're used to point to you. See, we're interested in the you. That's the true making. The selfing is the addiction. Yeah? Yeah. The addict of selfing needs to shoot up thoughts and feelings and actions so they can be used to claim that they're yours. Yeah? That's sort of the building of the beast. Yeah. Then there's the feeling that you're the doer of the thoughts, but the thoughts are really doing you. The feelings are being used to do a you. Yeah? You're not seeing it. You're not seeing it because the obscuring is time. You think something that comes after is before. So you're not seeing the heist. You're seeing it like a film. But the film has been edited. It's like one of those movies where there's all flashbacks. We think the flashbacks are what's happening. Yeah? It's all play in time. A lot of it's time. People don't address time, I believe it should be addressed a lot more, the sense of timing. There's a sense of timing is the basis of this whole hallucination. Yeah? And the way the mental state doesn't follow what we think we follow as time. It doesn't play that game. Yeah. All thoughts are drenched in time. Yeah? All thoughts are about, in a sense, yesterday and tomorrow. Yeah? They're all time. So the sense of what we are truly is timeless. So it's not in any process of crescendoing or culmination or becoming. It totally is, yeah? It has nothing, time has no play there whatsoever, yeah? So it's, like Jesus would say, we're in this world, so what would we say being in this world would be? Bodies, separation, time, yes? Space, that would be in the world. But he says you're not of the world. So you're not of the world. You're not a product of the world. So I humbly believe what we're looking for in the world is what we're of. So we're the source of what we're hoping to find. If that gets clear, then you'll see that this whole event is an expression, not a shopping spree. We're not consumers of what we are. We're expressions of what we are. Yeah? That produces an ease and comfort in time. but it doesn't come from time. It comes from a sense of timelessness. That's the only thing that can relieve you of time is timelessness. You're not going to get relieved of time in time. Not going to happen. So, you can sense it. It's got a lot of different flavors, timing. You can start seeing it, and if you catch that which comes after, trying to appear to be before, then you're seeing it from what's before. Yeah? So by seeing what you're not, you'll get an intimation of what you are. Because the only way you can intimate what you are is by being it, and being it is the seeing. We are being aware, which is our incessant, constant field of seeing. That's what we are, in a sense, as an activity. So, it's the seeing of what you're not is what you are. I rest my case. Yes, one more and I'm gonna go. The sun's up.
Just when you're talking there about seeing what you're not, Paul, it's
Yeah.
like the mind can grasp that too, can't it? Like, and you know, there's a position, like it's in that seeing what you're not, you are like, not after it or after the seeing of it. Like.
Of course the mind's gonna try to grasp anything. That's
Yeah.
what it does.
Like it's always there, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be love? If the only way is you can get an intimation of what you are, and the only way you can get an intimation of what you are is by seeing what you're not, we sure have a lot of seeing of what we're not all day. I would say that's love. I would. Yeah. If you can't get a sense of what you are other than by seeing what you're not, then there's a whole lot of what we're not being seen. That's love to me. You know?
Explain that last bit.
All right.
I know that sound words, but tell me a little bit more. Just curious about that last bit.
All right, so
How is that
this
love?
is the sense I have. I'm just telling you
Okay.
from the weird outpost called Paul Hedderman. This is how I sense it. So, to me, love, I find expresses and extends quite a lot in recovery. And I believe love is constantly here now, because here what we are can seemingly, it can appear to be true to it that it's forgotten what we are. It doesn't even say it's forgotten what we are, it's just actively affirming what it's not. It's believing it's the object, yeah? So in that believing, that's an active denial of what it is. Obviously, yeah. Now it doesn't think that's happening, but it's because it's just identified as this object. So, all right. So then a Hawaiian poet would say, whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving. So then that means anything that I can see, touch, feel, taste, whatever, think, whatever, is not what I am. Okay? And you can't have an experience of what you are. You can never know what you are. Yeah, because you are. So how could that which we always are have an intimation of itself? You know, sort of like almost like a shadow of itself. How could that possibly happen here? Well, this is how it happens with me, is by seeing what you're not, which is everything that you're seeing. You know, when the seeing stops and hits something, that's what you're not. Yeah. So in the seeing of what you're not, there's a constant quote-unquote reminder, intimation of what you are, which is the seeing of what you're not. So in a sense, what you are is intimating itself through this activity. Through seeing the dreaming, it gets the sense of the dreaming. Yeah. It can never have a sense of the dreaming because it is the dreaming. But in this weird way, it gets like a bumper shot. It doesn't hit the ball directly. It hits there and then it hits. You know, and in this one, maybe bing, 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 bing. But when it goes bing, there's the love. Yeah. You know, let's say if there was love, and you were that huge camera, and you were constantly seeming forgetting it, that you were the brownie camera. So, of course, being a camera, you're going to be taking pictures all day. So maybe love could go like this: all right, I'm going to appear as not what I am, and so the camera will keep taking pictures of what I'm not, and suddenly, by seeing what it's not, you'll get a sense it's not the brownie camera. You know what I mean? So it gets a bing, bing, bing. Oh, that's what it's like to me. So I humbly believe it's the act of seeing what you're not is what you are. That's the closest I can ever come to it. So in a way, you get reintroduced what you never needed to be introduced to here in the dreaming by seeing the dreaming. Because everything you see, hear, feel, taste, and touch is not you. Because it's not what's perceiving, and you are perceiving. I mean, it's lovely in a way, yeah.
The Buddha, exactly on this point, you said something that's just so poignant. Where Paul said, wherever you're seeing hits something and stops, that's what you're not. The Buddha has a story from the original days in the Pali, which is really on that point. The student says to him, what is this consciousness, this nirvanic consciousness that you're trying to teach us? And he said, okay, so visualize you're in a room and the sunlight is coming through the window and it's hitting the wall on the other side. The light is hitting the wall. What if we took that wall away? What then would happen with the light? Well, then it would go on and would hit some point of the earth because it's coming down on an angle. He says, but what if we took the earth away and there was nothing else there after the earth? He says, well, the light would have nothing to land on. He said, the consciousness I'm referring to is a consciousness and awareness that never lands on anything.
Yeah, so that's when seeing doesn't land any, that's the infinity of seeing. Yeah? So seeing never stops because it never sees anything. Yeah, so like this course would say love extends, seeing extends infinitely, yeah, because it never lands on anything. Because everything it's seeing here is what it's not. Yeah, it's cool. Got a good sense, eh? Sense felt is the key. Yeah. Don't let this become your mouth, because you'll starve. If all you're feeding is this, you're gonna starve. There's other mouths that can be fed, yeah? And you'll know because it produces a lot of nutrition in a sense by when it really digests everything. It really takes everything out of it, yeah.
Just what you said there is like, if there isn't seeing, there's being.
Yeah, you want to say it's the same thing. I like the seeing, you know, because that's more sense felt for me.
As soon as there's not seeing, there's being some.
Oh yeah.
For the seeing to be happening, does the heart need to be open?
Do hearts need to be open?
Yeah.
No, they just have to be seen as not yours.
It's you who it is.
That's the best compliment I've ever received.
It's on tape.
I hope so. Yeah. I knew I'd squeeze it out of him.
Let me interject in this moment at this great point. Angelica has an envelope for donations for Paul. It's, I think, really a great gesture if we can support Paul as best we can. This is his main line, his only line.
I'm in there already.
That you are. Most people
Leases, property. Take IOUs.
The women can put in their phone numbers.
Lottery tickets. The women, I already got their phone numbers. I looked at the files.
That's all Paul asked. He said, listen, I don't care about the money, but will there be some ladies?
I'd like some one-on-one teaching.
Personal coaching.
Forget about it. There are no bodies. But some look very good. So that's it, eh?
Yeah.
For a while. Yeah, I hope to see you this afternoon for our finale.
We finally get what we came